I mean, every person who's seen the film, their first reaction to it is, ऐसा कभी कुछ देखा ही नहीं.
मेरे साथ वो हुआ कि मैं फिर ये दुनिया को भी समझने लगी कि फॉर अ यंग गर्ल who's on social media or her life is on social media, she's earning, or there are these content creators. So मेरी उनके लिए इज्जत बढ़ गई.
They would make pickles, or they would be trying to set up an online store for handmade crafts or something like that. Something domestic. But here's Mahi at 65 wanting to ride a bike.
Live here by myself. I kind of work by myself. So I feel like a lot of time is spent alone. And recreationally, whenever I get a chance, I do try to put a jing bang together.
Ratna Pathak Shah, Mirza, Sanjana, and Fatima. Thank you so much for joining me on Times Network. It's lovely seeing the four of you together, and we are here to celebrate your film, Dhak Dhak. You know what has really come as a pleasant surprise that it is the highest watched film, and it has become so in the last 48 hours. I mean, just 48 hours it went online and it got so many views. I mean, what do you think is the reason?
It's a good film.
Very good.
Yeah, I think people just connected with all the characters. या कोई किसी ना किसी ने कोई तो कोई एक character से connect ही किया होगा. इसके कारण I think it's trending, or people are connecting and people are watching, and that is the most important thing, to connect with the audience.
Yeah,
I think Vicky also ये ऐसी कहानी है which is so refreshing. It's not been seen before. It's never happened before that four women from four different generations who don't know each other come together. They come with their own individual, unique strengths and weaknesses, and they discover each other and they go on this journey. And there's so much that they experience, and it's just wonderful writing and visually such a treat that I think everybody is really connecting with all of that and just celebrating the freshness, the newness, and just I mean, every person who's seen the film, their first reaction to it is, ऐसा कभी कुछ देखा ही नहीं, and that it just puts a smile on their hearts. It makes them feel good. And what more can one hope for and want for from a story?
Yeah, I completely agree. But let's start from Sanjana on this second question. Do you identify with the roles? I mean, all the four roles which you had, and मतलब कहीं आपको लगा कि कोई friend के साथ ऐसा हुआ है, या neighbor के साथ ऐसा हुआ है, relative के साथ ऐसा हुआ?
To, I mean, a degree that I can't even explain, Vicky, honestly, because when especially I read the script for the first time, I didn't necessarily read it for Manjari. And that's happened for the first time where I was just reading the script as a script. Pranjal and Tapsi told me कि बस पढ़ लो. And at least from where my age group is, I obviously could see thousands of girls that I've somewhere met in my life, be a Sky or be a Manjari. And I think that's the true testament to such an authentic story, because whether it's Sky from Delhi who's trying to build her career and make something of herself, or a Manjari from a small town, that is the story of young India in so many ways. It could be Mathura, or it could be Bhubaneswar, it could be Delhi or Bombay, but the stories are the same at the core. And so I definitely think that sense of resonance and connect is paramount in the way that Arun and Parijat wrote Dhak Dhak.
Ratna ji?
Yeah.
Your character, Mahi?
Of course, because it is a surprise also that a woman of this age undertakes this kind of challenge. There have been a lot of scripts which were offered to me where women, lone women of my age, wanted to do something for themselves. But those were usually somehow connected with the domestic aspect of their lives. They would make pickles, or they would be trying to set up an online store for handmade crafts or something like that. Something domestic. But here's Mahi at 65 wanting to ride a bike. That's quite a zany idea to start with. And the way it pans through in the film, it doesn't only stay zany. It becomes a believable character, as do all the others. That's what's interesting, really. That you may look at them as sort of stereotypes, but they don't stay like that even for half a second. Very soon,
Yeah.
you're emotionally connecting with these people. And
Yeah.
that's what I found really fascinating about the way in which the script was written, and also the way in which it came off the page. That's the real final क्या कहते हैं, proof of the pudding ना, कि फिल्म बनी कैसी फाइनली. स्क्रिप्ट अच्छी तो लिख लेते हैं लोग, मगर फिल्म उसकी अच्छी बना पाते हैं. तो ये तो स्क्रिप्ट भी अच्छी थी ही, और बहुत अच्छी फिल्म भी बन पाई. So that I think is a very special achievement for me.
Yeah, that narration and execution always has to be very close, because sometimes there's a big gap in the execution.
You know, there's so many lone elderly women who are finding such deep joy and inspiration in Mahi's character.
Yeah.
It's given so many women wings, and that belief and faith that they can fly to and they can go wherever they want. And I always say this, that if Ratna could do it, anybody can do it, you know.
Yeah.
And because you're not, you know, in when you play characters like this, you're not just being a character. You are putting yourself physically there. Ratna went up to Khardungla. She was there. She rode that bike. She fell so many times that she got up and she got right back on it and she rode it. So, all of those things, I think, are such a deep inspiration for women across ages, but especially for elder women.
Mhm.
Yeah, flying high reminds me of the word sky. So, Sky,
Yeah.
Yeah,
would
to be
you?
honest, मैं connect नहीं कर रही as Fatima. I don't understand Sky so much, or I don't relate with her. But बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज होती है एज एन एक्टर, जब भी आप एक कैरेक्टर प्ले करते हो, आप उसको बिलीव करने लगते हो, आप उससे उस एम्पैथेटिक हो जाते हो उस कैरेक्टर के साथ, और आप उसकी दुनिया समझने लगते हो. तो मेरे साथ वो हुआ कि मैं फिर ये दुनिया को भी समझने लगी कि फॉर अ यंग गर्ल हुज on social media, or her life is on social media, she's earning, or there are these content creators. So मेरी उनके लिए इज्जत बढ़ गई, क्योंकि you're putting everything out there, which हम लोग फिर भी थोड़ा थोड़ा एक प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं खुद को. But content creators are always creating. It's one person creating for themselves. So it was very interesting for me to find empathy towards somebody like Sky.
उज़मा, आपका कैरेक्टर कितना क्लोज गया आपके पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस इन लाइफ विद पीपल?
आई थिंक मैंने बड़े होते वक्त बहुत सारे उस्मा से मेरी मुलाकात हुई, आज भी होती है. एंड आई थिंक सबसे खास बात उस्मा की ये है कि शी इज नॉट सम बेचारी हाउसवाइफ. वो शायद शक्ल से लगती हो थोड़ी थोड़े थोड़े लम्हों के लिए, चंद लम्हों के लिए, but she's got fire in her. And the moment she gets the opportunity to go out there and really, full experience the full potential of her being, she thrives. And that is the reality for most women, not just in India, but everywhere in the world. सब में वो क्षमता है कि हम कुछ खास कर सके अपनी जिंदगी के साथ, अपने मकसद पूरे कर सके, अपना पर्पस फुलफिल कर. And I think Kuzma for me is that beautiful reminder that, uh, when we get past fear, we discover freedom. And there's something so potent about that realization. There's something so wonderful about that. And I've experienced it in the recent past in my life. I've discovered the beauty of discovering that beyond fear lies freedom. And I'm experiencing it every single day, in every moment, in every decision, in every choice. And there's nothing more elevating and empowering. And I'm so excited कि मुझे एक ऐसा किरदार निभाने का मौका मिला जो मुझे इतनी बारीकी से उस दौर पर ले जा पाई.
And I think the interesting thing is that they don't radically change their earlier lives.
Exactly.
None
Yeah.
of them do. No, it's not a sort of a jhandadhari feminist film in that
Or
sense.
rebellion. It's not
Or
even
just,
rebellion.
yes, it's not even about rebellion.
I was
Everyone
talking.
everyone manages to find ways of living different lives to get in one lifetime, which I think is a fascinating feeling.
And,
I got that when I saw
being
the film.
themselves, and just being themselves and owning themselves. and not being not trying to be anybody but themselves. I was talking to a friend recently who watched the film, and he was saying to me, he said, what I also love about that scene where, all of us are high and we're discussing sex. And it's just such a taboo subject, as you all know. But it was just so refreshing to see these women own their sexuality, own their desires, expressing them with such a, just the way we would, as women, when we chat with each other, sometimes we have these conversations, and there's just for that to come out as well was so refreshing for many people. So owning, pleasure, and doing it in a way which is not an affront to anyone or to anybody's sensibility.
It was done in a very sensitive manner. क्योंकि क्या होता है, जब भी हम ये सब चीजों के बारे में बात करते हैं और दर्शाया जाता है, वो थोड़ा हम ये बात करेंगे, वैसे करेंगे, वो भी सही है, गलत नहीं है, ये भी सही है, बट इसलिए लोगों को रिफ्रेशिंग लग रहा है क्योंकि एक सॉफ्ट तरीके से कैरेक्टर में रह के उज़मा जब बोलती है, यार जब भी रत्ना जी हम सब जब बात करते हैं तब हम एक सॉफ्टनेस और एक पर्सनल स्पेस से बात कर रहे हैं. आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाई अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल इवन लाइक्ड इट. और वो खटका नहीं तो खटकता है काफी टाइम.
And a lot of men, I've got a lot of responses from men saying how much they like the film. My male friends, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because such a conversation can rattle men.
Of course.
Of course.
Sanjana, what do you think of this very interesting point which Dia raised?
No, I think that's absolutely true. Just like how Dia mentioned, her friend spoke about that particular scene, even so many, we've been overwhelmed with responses and deep analysis, and everyone's taken away something different from the film, which has been the best part. And the boys, like all of my boy friends, have spoken about how they actually came out of the film getting feeling more connected to the female gender, feeling more in sync with them, understanding them more, because all we were doing as a girl gang was understanding each other and ourselves through each other. We were strangers to each other, but those conversations on this adventure led us to self-exploration, and to see that it's led to boys exploring girls and women in a way that they haven't before is such a unique takeaway. So that was really nice. And also what stood out, I think, for people is very much what Ratna ma'am was saying, which is the fact that to show discovery and evolution of people, not through garrowing any jhandas about it. It's like Manjari, for example, she comes back to the same life. She comes right back to Mathura. It's just that her perspective changed a little bit. She understood herself a little more. And I think that's all it takes to live a better life. You don't have to fundamentally alter your circumstance, which is also a huge learning. And I'm glad that people felt that, because I at least intended for people to take that away from the film.
I get a feeling all four of you feeling a little liberated after the film.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we have made a statement, we said what we want to be.
Fatty bol le.
I think I personally, I'm liberated pehle se only. It's a journey, you discover yourself, and over again, you find yourself in different ways and different shades and different layers. But I am happy that people are connecting with it. I am happy that people are seeing the film. I'm happy that जेंडर न्यूट्रल है, कि एक्सट्रीम वो नहीं हो रहा है कि हम लड़कियां ही हैं तो हम लड़कियां ही देखेंगे, लड़के भी बोल रहे नहीं हम लड़कियों की फिल्म नहीं देखें. थोड़ा अप्रोच वो हो गया, क्योंकि जब भी हम बोलते हैं ना कि फेमिनिज्म, हम ये नहीं बोलते कि औरत लड़कों से ज्यादा है. वी आर जस्ट saying we can coexist, we can embrace our femininity, men can also do that, and we can coexist and find equality. I think this film is doing that, and that's why it's being embraced by men and women both.
But trust me,
I definitely feel more liberated after this film.
100%.
As an artist, 100%.
I never thought I'd be able to get on that bike and stay on it. I am delighted with myself that I did stay on it as long as was required. And that I really met a bunch of very nice people. That's another very big takeaway from the film for me.
I love you
Be-
too.
because, yeah, because not just the four of us. I mean, we spent most time together because we had time off to chat with each other apart from shooting. But there's a whole
with the
crew there.
team.
Man, what a very nice bunch of people, all willing to work hard to, you know, uh, to to take on all kinds of situations. We really had tough times on this shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just getting that bunch of people, 200, 400 we were now at one point.
literally.
To
Yeah,
that kind of a crowd from one city to another in the most difficult terrain possible. Oh, it was quite an epic journey from every which way possible. Uh, and to do it with pleasure and to come out of it with friendships. My goodness, what more can one ask from a film?
yeah. And
How
honestly, Vicky, we have to tell you at this point, I think, we've not been able to share that trivia of just the process of even how we set off on our adventure. You almost won't see any sets in our film because the locations are ones that I don't think have been seen on celluloid before. So the kind of extensive wrecking that our team did through and through Ladakh and Himachal, and we as a team actually set off from Delhi and started going upwards. So it was a 2 month long journey of actually taking that journey. So in a way, we shoot films in a non-linear way, but this one, as actors, as characters, felt like we were really taking every step of the journey together and with the characters, which was really that was very liberating also.
6 states, 1,300 kilometers, a crew of over 200 people. And by the time we reached the higher altitudes, there was risk to life and threat to life at many, many junctures. But nobody gave up. एक तो I think by the time we reached the top of Ladakh, when we were shooting the higher points, there was one day when over 58 crew members were sick.
God,
And
Yeah,
yeah, and the rest showed up and the rest did their work. And one person doubled up for four,
for
you
the
know,
rest.
four people, sometimes five people, and got the job done. So it's a film that has been made with a lot of love and passion and conviction. But it's only been possible because I think every crew member believed in it and loved it.
yeah,
And
really. It was a quite an extraordinary feeling of being genuinely part
United.
of a group of people who are traveling together. It was a great pleasure.
but have you all
And the food, are good hot food all the
Yeah,
way up in all kinds of locations where it was difficult to keep yourself warm. How are they keeping these, pulkas going? Amazing, amazing.
have you all personally gone out on trips ever in college or maybe during your work? I mean, just the girl gang and just for a holiday. And how important it is for women to travel alone because we have this upbringing, culture, bolo jo bhi, parents are still wary of sending their daughters out and for a long trip or even for a stay over to a friend's place for various reasons. So, have you all gone out and how has it been and how important it is to go?
Patty, you take this
Oh,
first.
yeah,
the traveler.
I travel alone. I meet a lot of people. I make friends. I stay at people's house. I'm much more open to meeting new people. Uh, और मुझे रियलाइज हुआ है आपको रियलिटी मालूम पड़ती है क्योंकि अगर आप होटल में जाके रहते हो आप बहुत डिस्कनेक्टेड रहते हो एक जगह से। और मैं प्रेफर करती हूँ कि 15 दिन एक ही जगह पे वहां पे आसपास फिर लोकल्स के पास जाके मिलना पहाड़ों में। आई लव गोइंग टू धर्मशाला या हिमाचल बिकॉज वहां पे आई गेट टू मीट लोकल्स एंड द ब्यूटिफुल थिंग इज दैट इवन इफ दे रिकग्नाइज मी वो लोग घर पे बुला लेते हैं चाय के लिए और मैं चली जाती हूँ। फिर जो कॉन्वर्सेशन होते हैं 2 मिनट के वो होने के बाद वो इतने प्यारे कॉन्वर्सेशन होते हैं आपको उनकी जिंदगी के बारे में मालूम पड़ता है फिर आपको रियलाइज होता है जो मेरे साथ लास्ट टाइम हुआ था, मैं गई थी धर्मशाला और मैं वॉक के लिए निकली थी, एंड आई वाज वेरी इंट्रीग. नीचे कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा था, सिर्फ औरतें थी, सब औरतें, और हिमाचली औरतें ना बहुत रंगीन कपड़े पहनती, पिंक रेड वैसे. तो मैं आई वाज वेरी इंट्रीग एंड दे वर आल्सो इंट्रीग कि मैं एक लड़की जा रही है ट्रैक पैंट में और मैं देख रही हूँ कि इतनी 5-6 औरतें कंस्ट्रक्शन कर रही है. तो मैं नीचे गई, वो भी ऐसे देख रहे हैं, फिर उन्होंने बुलाया और मैं बैठी. दे डिडंट रिकॉग्नाइज मी, सो वी स्टार्टेड चैटिंग एंड आई रियलाइज्ड एज वुमेन आर we may come from anywhere, whatever social strata, but problems सेम ही है. वो भी सेम चीजों से गुजर रहे हैं, हम भी, खाली लेवल अलग है, एक्सपोजर अलग है, सिचुएशन अलग है, लेकिन कोर फीलिंग वही है. और ये कितनी इंडिपेंडेंट औरतें हैं जो घर में जाके खाना भी बनाती है, अपने बच्चों को भी संभालती है, पति को भी संभालती है, और फिर बाहर आके कंस्ट्रक्शन करती है 8-9 घंटा. फिर एज अ कलेक्टिवली दे वर्क टुगेदर एंड दे गो बैक होम, बट इशू सेम ही है. सो इट वाज सो रिफ्रेशिंग बिकॉज हम सोचते हैं कि हमारी ये प्रॉब्लम्स है, हम अपने प्रॉब्लम्स को इतना बड़ा बना देते हैं, बट देन यू रियलाइज दैट इट्स व्हाट द ग्राउंड रियलिटी. सो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी दैट आई go out and meet new people.
Ratna ji?
It's definitely changing, this attitude towards women traveling alone or women traveling in groups of women. All over the world, one has been seeing these kind of changes in the last couple of decades, definitely. And it is a good thing. Also, now women earn on their own. So you don't always have to ask somebody for money to travel. When we were younger, we always had to get permission from mommy and daddy. So it became a little harder. But I have to say that this is something that I have personally never done, travel alone. And this is something that I definitely want to do, because there is a completely different experience waiting there. I can sense it, and I want to have that experience.
Yeah. I've been traveling alone for some years, and I love going to the forests. I love meeting local communities, much like what Fatty said. And I started traveling on my own in my late 30s, and I discovered the beauty and the rich experiences one can have by just doing that. आई थिंक पहली बार जब मैंने अकेले ट्रैवल किया था, मैं 18 साल की थी when I had to take my flight from India to Manila to participate in the Miss Asia
In the
Pacific.
pageant.
First and last solo trip, so to speak, at that young age. And it was also my first international flight. And I was terrified. I was so scared. I didn't know anything. And I could only hear somebody's voice in my head who had like told me what to expect at every step and how to navigate all of that. And but after I won, I was never alone. I was suddenly always with people. And when finally, much later in life, I discovered the joy and the beauty and the importance of traveling alone. I've made it my life's mission to make sure I do at least one trip annually on my own. And I can't begin to express how much it gives me. It's just the most enriching thing. And I wish every woman could experience that.
So when I make my itinerary, I'll run it by you.
Yes.
She's very geeky and
that I'm going to do.
Dia knows everything.
So,
research
Dia, God bless Dia.
Yeah. Very responsible she is.
Sanjana, you had strict parents always monitoring you. कहाँ जा रहे हो, क्यों जा रहे हो, गर्ल ट्रिप पे मत जाओ, बॉयज हैं क्या वो ट्रिप पे?
वो सब स्कूल में तो बहुत होता था, पर आई थिंक I live alone in Bombay. I'm from Delhi, so I live here by myself. I kind of work by myself, so I feel like a lot of time is spent alone. And recreationally, whenever I get a chance, I do try to put a jing bang together, because I miss that. I miss my friends and family back home so much. But the solo travel I get to do and get to do frequently has been out of my curiosity and the education work that I do. So I've gotten the chance to go to Bhutan and Japan and places like that and spend, like Fatty said, long periods of time in the most remote parts. So even if it's Bhutan, it won't be the Paro of the world. It'll be like a village called Pangbisa, and just being there with the local kids, understanding how they study, how they learn performing arts. So it's always had that purpose attached, and that gives me a lot of joy. But I'm yet to get that abandon to pick up my bag solo just for a recreational travel trip solo.
So, Ratnaji, you made a very interesting point about execution and narration earlier, and this ran as close as possible. So, does it become easier for you four, or rather, did it become easier for you four to entrust, this responsibility to someone because Tapsi is the producer, she's a woman herself, and Pranjal also, when you all met him, the the equation which you all developed with him along the way, does it become easier to sign projects? How do you judge all that? I mean,
By the script. I think that's a single point,
Yeah.
first introduction to the situation. And then if you find a producer and a director who resonate with the script in the same way as you do, I think that definitely becomes an easier choice to make. But the fact
Yeah.
is that most times you don't get these kind of, all the stars meeting together in a perfect way. Aisa nahi hota. And you learn how to deal with these situations. Nobody gets perfect working conditions anywhere, anytime. So who am I to expect that for myself? So
Yeah.
I'm fine to deal with whatever I get. And my equation with the director is a closer one, always, and the writer, because they are the people on whom I'm banking to understand what is this person I'm supposed to play and what I'm doing right. Now, with example, with Tarun. Now, Tarun is much younger, and I've unfortunately got this big hawa of, senior actor and bad tempered and I don't know what. But people tend to get a little intimidated. And I suppose poor Tarun must have also been, though he didn't show it too much. He was quite a spunky guy. But I did feel that he was explaining things to me in detail that was not necessary. So I took him aside one day and I said, look, Tarun, I've been in this business long enough to figure out what is required for a scene. So don't have to tell me what happened before and what happened after. I read my script. I know what's going to come. But what I would like you to constantly look for and keep a very sharp eye out for is, one, am I correct in the context of the scene? Is what I'm doing appropriate? Am I doing more or less? Because I don't believe in this overacting, underacting business at all. Is what you're doing right for the scene or isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's what you have to look out for first and foremost.
yeah,
So I wanted Tarun to keep an eye out for that, because sometimes as an actor, you get pushed in the wrong direction. And he really was a very good help. And he had suggestions. He didn't have immediate suggestions sometimes. You don't. But he'd go away and think about it and come back. The next day, he and Parijat would have solved the problem that I had raised. So I think, I don't know about the other people's experiences, but for me, this was a very happy collaboration with Tarun as well as with the writer, Parijat. And the best part is, they didn't spend too much time talking. They got down to business. We just shot the scene. We rehearsed the scene. We did what was required for the scene. We didn't spend time in endless discussions. एक तो मुझे उससे बहुत कोफ्त होती है कि बस बातें ही किए जाओ, उसका मतलब ही, मगर दिख रहा है कि नहीं मतलब तुमको स्क्रीन पे, वो तो पहले देख लो. So this was a very happy experience.
I
Dia?
love you. I love her. Don't you just love her?
Yeah, she's
Oh,
she speaks elaborately, and as a journalist, I would say gives you good quotes also.
You be careful.
Ah.
No misquoting, no misusing.
Dia, tell me.
So I've known Pranjal for almost 20 odd years, and I've seen him in
Okay.
various roles over time. And I've always felt that he cares. He really, really cares. And I think while it's very important, and I totally agree with Ratna, that a script is what defines that choice. But most often you can have a wonderful script, but if you don't have the infrastructure and the setup that can enable uh, the honest execution of that material, then that can become a huge issue. तो मेरा तो एक ही होता है कि ये लोग अच्छे हैं या नहीं, क्योंकि अगर अच्छे लोग हैं तो सर्कमस्टांस भी बुरा हो गया तो हम वो मैनेज कर पाते हैं, बिकॉज आप अपने जिंदगी के 2 महीने 3 महीने उन लोगों के साथ बिता रहे हैं, यू वांट टू बी विद पीपल हु यू कैन फील गुड विद एंड बी फील गुड अराउंड. And that's become very important to me. And a lot of my choices are based on that first, कि लोग अच्छे होने चाहिए. मैं अपने बच्चों को छोड़ के बाहर जाऊंगी काम पे, नहीं तो आई एम नो इंटरेस्ट. मैं अपने घर पे खुश हूँ अपने बच्चों के साथ. And because I left my child when he was just 1 year old to film this movie. And at that time, especially, it was extremely critical that the group and the team that we were working was nice. So I connected instantly with Tarun. I felt safe with him. I felt good with him. I felt really, really good being around Parijat. And Tapsi, I know she's a firebrand. I know she'll put all her her power and her resources behind what she believes in. And the fact that this film got made is nothing but evidence of the fact that it was Tapsi's might and belief in it that made it happen. This script has been doing the rounds of the industry for some years now. And it only got made when it landed at the outsider's office. So that again is evidence of the fact that Tapsi really knows how to put her might behind something. And once we all got together, I remember when I met Fatty for the first time and Sanjana, like properly at the workshops that we did. And I fell in love. I mean, there are beautiful moments from that workshop where I just I just wanted to keep these two very close to my heart, and they reside in my heart now. And then when I discovered Ratna, I had met during Thappad. I've always admired her, but when we got together on this film and we traveled together, and we had some really honest and beautiful conversations along the way, and I feel that's what really makes the experience rich. And that's what makes the film what it is, because it's these energies, when they come together, these human beings, their hearts, their purpose, that makes it what it is. I really feel that cinema is very transparent. ऐसे दिख जाता है. मुझे ऐसे लगता है. लोगों के समझ में आ जाता है कि ये कुछ. Although there are stories about some very horrible human beings who are very celebrated actors. Some very horrible human beings who are celebrated filmmakers. I don't know. Thankfully, I haven't met them yet. But I think this made it everything that it was, because everyone who came into this was just special.
I think the beauty of it is also now that it is on OTT, Netflix. The audience, I think, is very evolved out there. And Fatima, I think you'll agree on that, and Sanjana, that you get to see such films, and as you rightly said, or as you said rather earlier, that people have written to you, reached out to you, that they are identifying with the film, they are appreciating what you have done, and that happens only when there's an evolved audience.
Also when it reaches more people, the moment it is available to the audience, then उन्हें अगर देखने का मौका मिल रहा है तो वो फिर जज भी कर सकते हैं, फिर वो पसंद कर सकते हैं, ना पसंद कर सकते हैं. तो ओटीटी में क्या हो जाता है कि रीच ज्यादा होती है, इंटरनेशनल भी हो जाता है. अभी जैसे मुझे एक लड़की ने मैसेज किया कि जर्मनी में ट्रेंड हो रही है. मतलब वहां पे तो सोशल सिचुएशंस भी अलग होंगे, वहां पे थोड़ा अलग
but they love this stuff.
Sorry.
And my father was German. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Actually.
So, but Germans love Indian cinema. They love Indian cinema.
I had no idea. But like अगर ऐसे वो प्लेटफॉर्म मिला है, रीच है, उसके कारण हम वो प्यार रिसीव भी कर पा रहे हैं. अगर वो मौका नहीं मिलता तो हमें वो मिलता ही नहीं, ना हमें पता चलता कि फिल्म कितना कनेक्ट कर रही है लोगों से. So I'm glad it's on Netflix and it has a larger audience.
Yeah, and also I feel that because our film, I feel, I realize it now because every time I walk into my house, my family was over and they are watching a different scene from the film. And I'm like, guys, ab 10 baar hi dekh liye. You can't watch it so many times. But that's one more thing that came out of it, which is that now audiences are seeking joy out of just seeing specific scenes and seeing them again and again because they're like, it just uplifts our mood. It just feels good at the end of the day. Um, so that's one beautiful thing that happens with OTT where you can review and rewatch and watch it at your pace. And also, Dhak Dhak is a very, I feel, a language agnostic, culture agnostic story because it's just so
Yeah.
authentic
Yeah.
that it doesn't really matter where you're sitting in the world because it's so just true to human emotion, which is universal. So I really think that over the next few weeks, many more countries, I mean, I don't want to be any predictive guru, but from the way it's feeling, I think people are going to take to it more and more internationally as well.
I'm lucky to have.
Sorry, I'm very hungry. I'm very hungry. It's
What
lunchtime
are
and I'm
you?
sure.
I'm lucky to have celebrated Dhak Dhak, and I'm really lucky to have spoken to four wonderful actors, extremely talented in their own right. And thank you so much for joining me, Dia, Ratna,
Thank you.
Sanjana, and Fatih.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.